It's mailbag time here on the Raiders Report. A friendly reminder that this show was recorded when we went live on Tuesday, May 6th. If you haven't already, you got to hit that subscribe button if you want to join all of our future mailbags. And if you ever see any of the questions that we get on this show, they are from super chatters that are subscribed or people are using hashtag Raiders. Let's go to the first one from Breakfast. If the running back position is back and the boogeyman is the Raiders RB1, will he be on a pitch count to keep him healthy? I wouldn't keep Ashton Jeanty on a pitch count because if you are keeping a running back that you're paying as cheap as what you're paying Jeanty right now, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I would say a pitch count for Jeanty this season is if he has less than 270 touches, and that might not be what you're considering a pitch count, but I fully anticipate Ashton Jeanty to get over 300 touches every single year that he is a Las Vegas Raider. Let's go to Bigfoot. Red Tossie was signed as a UDFA. Do we still have David Agoa? Well, I know that David Agoa was the old Raiders International Pathway Program player, and Laki Tossie is now, from what I understand, the new International Pathway Program player. I'll say this, David Agoa, I just reached out to somebody while this question was asked before our live show. David Agoa is not on the Raiders roster, but it also I don't think makes any sense to put Tossie as a UDFA because you get that extra roster spot when he's a part of the International Pathway Program. And also, Agoa was a part of that, last year as well. Like, we can have 17 practice squad guys because of the International Pathway. What up, Jeremiah? Which nickel corner would you trade for? I don't necessarily know if there's a single nickel corner off the top of my head right now that I would trade for, but there are still some good nickels out there on the open market. Like, I do think like a Mike Hilton at age 31 is somebody to keep in mind. Troy Hill is another name that I threw out there, but that's just because of his connection with John Spytek. Who knows? Maybe the Raiders, instead of going out and paying Nate Hobbs all the money that Green Bay did, Nate Hobbs ended up going to Green Bay. Like, maybe you're like, I can get Eric Stokes, DeCamerion Richardson, Jacorian Bennett, and, Darian Porter, and just have a rotation of all those players, a lot of versatility. There's going to be a lot of players that do some versatile. Like Isaiah Paul Mal is going to play in the nickel. I bet you see Jeremy Chin a little bit in the nickel. This is going to be a team that uses a lot of different players. But if I could, I'd go out and sign Mike Hilton. What up, Raider Rob? If we cut Zamir, would Dobbins be a good pickup? I don't think we need to. I don't think J.K. Dobbins needs to be on our radar, and it has nothing to do with Zamir White. But you already have Raheem Mostert, who's going to be your good backup, and quite frankly, I think Mostert's going to be able to get, 100 touches this season. And for somebody that struggled with health but has been a home run threat his entire career, that's good value. And Dobbins, sure, you might be able to get him for like $4 million or something like that. But you got Ashton Jeanty, and I'm going to rely on Ashton Jeanty to be that dude. It's not going to be the way I would spend my free agent dollars. What up, Patrick? Could the Raiders sign Justin Simmons? What chance do we have? I'll admit, I don't think it's the highest chance of probability that they go out and get Simmons. I'd give it one just win, baby, if I'm being totally transparent here. What could help out Simmons is he was a Bronco for many years. I want to say it was probably, 2016 to 2023. And when he was a member of the Denver, or 2019, right, to 2023. Actually, I don't know the exact years that he was a Bronco. But when he was drafted in Denver, it's 2016 to 2023. I don't know why I doubted myself. But if you guys remember, and I can't think of the name that the Raiders just hired recently to be a part of their front office, but he was a member of the Denver Broncos for multiple years before that. And I do think that when you consider what organizations do, they're always going to look at, past members. And for the Raiders to bring in somebody that's a part of this new regime, I can't think of his name. It's Brian Stark. That's it. Brian Stark, who was with Denver for so many years and was a part of that scouting department who drafted Simmons, that would be the logical reason why I could think that the Raiders end up bringing him in. But there's probably other free safeties out there that have a higher probability to being signed by the Raiders than Justin Simmons. But if they did it, I'd be ecstatic. I think it's one of our biggest needs right now. If you want Raiders Report mailbags all off season long, hit that subscribe button, join the Noti gang, and make sure you pull it for all of our live shows. I would love to have you guys here. Let's keep it moving here on the Raiders Report. And reminder, all these questions are from our live show on Tuesday. Been wondering what kind of offense Chip is going to implement. Sneaking suspicion that Bowers and Mayer are going to get some good work. I think that both of those players are going to get used I think Mayer is actually going to get used this year the way that we're hoping that he's going to get used. Also, you're going to see a lot of zone running, but I think that this offense is going to look very similar to the offense that Chip Kelly tried to run last season at Ohio State. They're going to try to spread you out. They're going to run the rock. They are going to do, I think, a little bit of a slower tempo offense, and that's going to help, slow the game down. They're going to try to attack vertically, which is what Ohio State did last season. It's what Geno Smith is really good at. And even though Smith isn't a mobile quarterback, the way that Will Howard was used, where it was just a threat to use his legs to pick up a first down, I think is the exact same way that the Raiders are going to go out there and they're going to try to use, Geno Smith. Let's go to Aaron. Do you think we run Jacoby as a 1 or a slot this year? All of the above. And that's going to be the cool part about this Raiders offense is, you can line Brock Bowers up in the slot or at the number 1. You can line up Jacoby Myers as the 1 or in the slot. You can line up Jack Besh as in the 1 or in the slot. When you put out an offense that at any given moment, anybody can play the X, anybody can play the Y, anybody can play slot, and quite frankly, Jack Besh could be a tight end. Michael Mayer obviously is a tight end. Brock Bowers could play tight end and wide receiver. When you have that much versatility and at any moment you can hand the ball off to a guy like Ashton Jeanty and he can take it 60, 70, 80 yards to the house, but also he can ram it down your throat 10, 20 yards and you're going to feel that. I think that the best thing that the Raiders have going for them right now is how versatile this offense can be. And then you can throw in a guy like Trey Tucker, Tommy Millott, Dante Thornton Jr. to stretch out the field. This offense is going to be a fun offense to watch. What up, Christian? You're next up here on the Raiders Report. I still think Mayer gets traded before the year ends. Who is a team that would try to get him? I'll be real with you. I actually don't know if Mayer is actually going to get traded. If he does, he does. It is what it is. I'll say right now the team that I would say is the most likely to make a deal for Mayer. How about the Philadelphia Eagles? We just hired, what's his name? Anthony Patch from Philadelphia. There's been a lot of Dallas Goedert rumors in Philly that they could move on from him because they don't want to pay him all that money. What if Goedert goes somewhere else? Philly's looking for a tight end. We just hired somebody. There's a relationship there. Maybe Mayer ends up going there. Maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars could be another team that I would keep in mind for a tight end. So I want to know down below. Chug said this is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. Give me a yes or a no. Will Michael Mayer, I don't know who typed that one. Did I do that? Will Mayer be traded this season? Give me a yes. Give me a no. My answer is going to be after this YouTube ad break. I'm going to say that Michael Mayer will not be traded this season, and I only say that because there's going to be ways that they can use him. And I do really honestly think that Bowers is going to be used as a wide receiver a lot more than what some people anticipate, and that's a good thing. But if you're going to go out there with a 3 wide receiver set and you're really going to spread them out, Brock Bowers, Jack Best, Jacoby Myers, all 3 of those receivers can block. All 3 of those guys are great possession guys. And then on top of that, you're going to be able to use Michael Mayer as a tight end. I know his name continuously gets thrown out there left and right, but I don't really think we need to trade Mayer. I think that he's going to have plenty of opportunities to show that he can be a good football player. Let's go to Eric M. Who is a free safety and linebacker you would want to sign before camp? Well, there's 2 camps, right? There's mandatory camp, which is mandatory minicamp June 10th, and then there's training camp, which is in July. I don't know if the answer really changes all that much. If it was up to me, I want a guy that we can get in there right for June to keep on working, and maybe you see some of these moves happen post-June 1st. But free safety, if I had to pick, I'd go Julian Blackmon, Justin Simmons, a name along that regard. At linebacker, it's probably Kaiser White, Juwan Bentley, but I don't have a lot of confidence in any of those dudes. Maybe Jermaine Pratt if the Bengals decide to let him go. But the linebacker talent that's available in the open market, it's not very good right now. Let's go to Michael Avila. If Cam Miller plays lights out, does he become quarterback 2? He's got a shot to become quarterback 2, but the way that I would look at this Raiders quarterback situation is Cam Miller's going to make Aiden O'Connell better. Aiden O'Connell's going to make Cam Miller better. Both of those guys are going to be competing. And if both of those guys get better, that's going to make Geno Smith better, which is ultimately the only thing that I care about. Let's go a little flapjack. Put me in for the Jeanty jersey. Yes, sir, you are in. Anybody drafted in Dynasty this year? I had the 1-1. Yeah, if you get the number 1 pick, you're going Ashton Jeanty. And I think, quite frankly, it's been the easiest 101 pick probably since, a guy like Saquon Barkley ended up getting drafted, where we all knew what was going to happen. Maybe Bijan Robinson could be thrown out there in that mix as well. Ashton Jeanty, though, is the 101 in dynasty drafts. Hell, I bet you Ashton Jeanty goes round 1 in a lot of regular drafts as well. Not first pick, but round 1 in a lot of regular drafts as well. Speaking of Jeanty, if you guys are trying to get in for a chance to win an Ashton Jeanty jersey, $5 super chat if you're watching us live. If you're unable to watch us live, though, you can super thanks. And the winner is going to be announced Friday, May 30th. If you're like, Mitch, what the hell is a super thanks? If you're on your mobile app, on your phone, right? And if you look at a video, you can go down to the video that you're on. You click this button right here. It's called Super Thanks, and it's just like sending in a super chat. If you watch the Raiders Report on your desktop, then this is what you're going to see. You're going to click those 3 buttons over there. You're going to get a little drop-down menu. You're going to click on Super Thanks, and you're going to be able to donate that way. $5 Super Thanks or Super Chat if you want to be entered in for a chance to win an Ashton Jeanty jersey. Winner is going to be announced live Friday, May 30th. Let's go to DeMokes. What up, my brother? AOC MVP incoming. Unfortunately, not going to be the case this year, DeMokes. I will give you this one, though. What about Ashton Jeanty? Rookie of the Year. Ashton Jeanty, Rookie of the Year. I'm on board with that one. What up, John Fallon? You're next up. I heard Pickens and Steelers are far apart on a contract. Do you think that we could fleece the Steelers for him for like a 7th-round pick and hope he changes his attitude with a new team? You must be new to the show, and that's totally okay. I'm not a George Pickens fan. I think he's a cancer, and he's not somebody that I would want on my team. If you told me right now that this is Madden and I can turn off emotions, yeah, George Pickens is a player that I think, quite frankly, would be a great fit on the Raiders. His downfield ability, his blocking, his toughness, it all makes sense, but he doesn't have it up here. And when you don't have it up here, that's going to be a problem, especially for a team that they're going to want to run the football, right? Like, they're going to want to be a physical brand of football, and he's already unhappy with a physical brand of football with the Pittsburgh Steelers, because we need wide receivers that put the team first. I don't want another diva in Devontae. I want a Jacoby Myers who's humble, who's going to be like, you know what? All I care about is us winning. If I got to block, cool. A guy like Jack Besh, exact same mindset. A guy like Brock Bowers, exact same mindset. I don't need drama from George Pickens. And because of that, I'm not interested in George Pickens. Let's go to Jared. Which safety do you think that we are most likely to get in free agency if we get one? The names I'll probably go with, I think Jordan Whitehead is a name I'll consider just because he's got some Buccaneers ties with John Spytek. Quandre Diggs played 5 years in Seattle, had like 3 Pro Bowl seasons. How about this one? This one's kind of a new one. Jalen Mills. Jalen Mills getting up there in age. I get it at safety. Did play for the Philadelphia Eagles at one point, but because the Raiders just went out and they hired Anthony Patch, who's been, the director of college scouting for Philadelphia, that could be a name. But Marcus Williams, I did a video on some Raiders free agent targets at free safety if you want to go check out that video. But if I was a betting man, I'd say the most likely safety that we would add would be Quandre Diggs. And that's because of his connection with Pete Carroll. Let's go to Seth. Do you think Tommy Eichenberg can get more reps this season, maybe even start? Can he get more reps? Absolutely. I think any linebacker on the Raiders, not named Landon Roberts, has an opportunity to start this season. Devin White, Tommy Eichenberg, along the lines of Amari Burney, Amari Gaynor, all those dudes have a potential to get more reps this season because anybody at linebacker can go out there, prove it to this new regime, and you're going to get opportunities to get out there on the field. Do I think he's going to be that dude, though? No. I really, really do not think so. Let's go to Big Luck. Are we planning a Houston takeover? So the Raiders and Texans do play this season, and that game is in Houston. Chugs and I are planning on taking a trip down to Houston. So whenever that schedule's released May 14th, which is next Wednesday, by the way, and we will, break down the Raiders schedule. I'm also going to be releasing when we're going to start doing Raiders Madden live sim games, which is kind of a wild thing to even consider and talk about. But when the Raiders and Texans, whenever that date is announced, if him and I are both free, we're going to go down to Houston. We're going to party with the nation. But I'm not going to lie to you. Chugs, I'm going to let him hang out with some of his Texans guys. And I think it'd also be kind of fun to go see Chugs in his Texans element. But we're also going to be hanging out with the nation as well. And, it's going to be a lot of fun. But I do plan on doing a Houston takeover. I've also never been to Houston. I know I'm not driving. Chugs is going to drive. but I'll pay for gas. So it'll be a lot of fun. Appreciate all y'all tuning in. Again, if I did not get your question, you can always ask me on Twitter, on Instagram. Got to give me a follow at Mitchell Renz 365.